Very good. Okay. Ready? For the record, you said you wanted to make the decision without unanimous consent.
I said I didn't want to decide without the facts.
Well, is that what you said to the plaintiff?
I said what I said after he said he was going to sue me.
You said you were not going to make the decision?
That's exactly what I said.
So the defendants were lying about what they said?
What they said was not true. They made up things that we said.
Who said the decision had to be unanimous?
The plaintiff was the one who said that, and I said I wouldn't decide then.
When you said that, what did the membership say?
When I said that, they said it would have to be a unanimous decision.
Did you say anything to the membership after they said that?
I said the decision should be based on what we said before.
And what you said before was what?
We said the membership should decide by majority, not unanimous decision.
Do you think they agreed when you said that?
I don't think they cared what I said.
Who said the decision should be a majority?
The membership. They said they didn't have to listen to what I said.
So, you said you wanted to end the relationship?
That's what I said. They said I couldn't quit.
What did the president say when you said you would quit?
She said that the decision was not mine to make.
When you said you would end your relationship with them, what happened?
They said they would reconsider if I retracted what I said.
And did you agree to retract what you said?
I said that I would consider it if they retracted what they said.
Okay. We're going to read it, bump it up. Okay. For the record, you said you wanted to make the decision without unanimous consent.
I said I didn't want to decide without the facts.
Well, is that what you said to the plaintiff?
I said what I said after he said he was going to sue me.
You said you were not going to make the decision?
That's exactly what I said.
So the defendants were lying about what they said.
What they said was not true. They made up things that we said.
Who said the decision had to be unanimous?
The plaintiff was the one who said that, and I said I wouldn't decide then.
When you said that, what did the membership say?
When I said that, they said it would have to be a unanimous decision.
Did you say anything to the membership after they said that?
I said the decision should be based on what we said before.
And what you said before was what?
We said the membership should decide by majority, not unanimous decision.
Do you think they agreed when you said that?
I don't think they cared what I said.
Who said the decision should be a majority?
The membership. They said they didn't have to listen to what I said.
So you said you wanted to end the relationship?
That's what I said. They said I couldn't quit.
What did the president say when you said you would quit?
She said that the decision was not mine to make.
When you said you would end your relationship with them, what happened?
They said they would reconsider if I retracted what I said.
And did you agree to retract what you said?
I said that I would consider it if they retracted what they said.
Okay, I'm just going to do you recall how long, how fast, how much, all that? Okay, for the record. Do you recall how long it was?
No.
Do you recall how much it was?
No.
Do you recall how fast it was?
No.
Do you remember how long it was?
No, sir.
Do you remember how much it was?
No, sir.
Do you remember how fast it was?
No, sir.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
Do you recognize this deposition?
Yes.
Do you recollect how long it was?
Yes, sir.
Do you recollect how much it was?
Yes, sir.
Do you recollect how fast it was?
Yes, sir.
One more time for the record. Do you recall how long it was?
No.
Do you recall how much it was?
No.
Do you recall how fast it was?
No.
Do you remember how long it was?
No, sir.
Do you remember how much it was?
No, sir.
Do you remember how fast it was?
No, sir.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
Do you recognize this deposition?
Yes.
Do you recollect how long it was?
Yes, sir.
Do you recollect how much it was?
Yes, sir.
Do you recollect how fast it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's that. Let's do, this is going to be in about 6.5, 6.5, so 2 and 13, so every, 16, 26, 39, you know.
I know, I
So-
do that in my head now. I'm
Yeah.
I'm going, oh.
And we're gonna, it's gonna be around, about right in these two speeds.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 and 13?
Yeah. So it'll be 13, that would be 26, that would be 39.
Thanks.
Yeah. And after that, I can't count.
42.
52.
52.
All right. I mean, it's that one.
I used to have one of those.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready? For the record. Would you state your full name for the record, ma'am?
Janet Brown.
Well, Mrs. Brown, my name is David Grant, and I represent the defendants in this matter. Have you had an opportunity to talk with your attorney about a deposition?
Yes, I have.
You understand that the reporter here is going to take down everything you say and transcribe it. You'll have an opportunity to look at it after it's transcribed.
Yes.
One of the things, if I ask a question that's confusing or that you don't understand, ask me to rephrase it and I'll go ahead and do so.
Okay.
Are you married, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
What's your husband's name?
Frank.
How long have you been married to Frank?
14 years.
Do you have any children?
Yes.
How many children?
2.
What are their names?
Desiree, Desiree. Desiree with an extra E. Clinton.
How old is Clinton?
9.
How old is Desiree?
21.
Is Brown your maiden name?
No.
What was your maiden name?
Clark. Clark.
Were you raised in Albuquerque?
No.
Where were you born?
Gallup.
Were you raised in Gallup?
Yes.
How long ago did you move to Albuquerque?
9 years ago.
Do you have a current driver's license?
Yes.
Can I take a quick look at it?
Sure.
Thank you. Do you know if you have any restrictions on your driver's license, ma'am?
No, not that I know of.
Are you required to wear glasses?
Yes.
It shows license number 038584430.
Yes.
Mrs. Brown, did you have an opportunity to inspect the accident scene which gives rise to the lawsuit before your deposition today?
No.
You didn't go out and visit it before you came here?
No.
Have you reviewed any documents in preparation for your deposition today?
Yes, sir.
What documents would those be?
Basically letters from Johnson.
Have you had the opportunity to review any statements that you might have given to the insurance company or anything like that?
No.
Are you currently working, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Where are you working?
Dyncorp. Dyncorp.
And where are they located?
I don't know the address. It's on the corner of Wyoming.
What kind of business is DynCorp?
They do contracts for the government.
What is your position there?
Computer operator.
How long have you been with DynCorp?
About 3 weeks.
Who is your supervisor at DynCorp?
Bob Smith and Gary Sanders.
When you say you're a computer operator, do you enter data into the computer or do you actually program the computers?
It's just basically operations. I don't do any programming. We have a programmer.
Did you have to undergo any specialized training before you started your job at DynCorp?
I am in training at the present time.
You are training in Alamo, as I understand it.
Yes.
Is that the 3 weeks you have been in Alamo training?
No, I've been there a total of 6 days.
How much more time do you anticipate having to train in Alamo?
Approximately 3 weeks.
So you should be done by the end of March 7.
That's what they're shooting for.
Is it classroom training every day?
No, it's on the job training.
Do they have an office down there or is it a training center?
No, it's an office.
Is your supervisor down there Bob Smith or Gary Sanders?
Down there, it's Bob Smith.
I see. What sorts of requirements physically does a typical 8-hour day have? Are you required to sit most of the time or stand, a combination?
Well, it varies. It depends on the workload. Some days it's a lot of sitting. Some days it's on your feet and lifting boxes.
What sorts of boxes do you lift? Boxes full of paper?
Computer paper,
Are you required to do that every day or just certain days?
most of the days.
Do you have a set terminal that you're required to work at each day, or do you move around?
Move around.
Do you move around to different computer terminals all day?
We use two in the computer room mostly.
When you finish your training session, will you then be supervising some people here in Albuquerque?
It's possible.
I want to kind of jump back here. I know you're not making a claim at this time for lost wages.
Not specifically, no.
Mrs. Brown, what high school did you graduate from?
Cathedral High School.
Would that be in Gallup?
Yes.
What year was that?
1965.
Did you go to college after you graduated from Cathedral High School?
No, I went to trade school.
What trade school did you attend?
Do you want the name of the school?
That's fine.
It's no longer here at the present time. It was called the American College of Machine Education
Where was that located?
at San Mateo in Central.
And what sort of curriculum did they offer?
Data processing and accounting.
How long did you attend the American College?
1 year.
Did you receive any sort of certification?
Certification.
What was your certification in?
Operations. Computer operations.
Did you go on to any other formal education after you graduated from the American College?
No.
Did you attend any seminar type of course since then?
Yes.
Okay. What else do we have here?
Okay.
Okay, this is going to be on 2 and 15s. Okay, 2 and 15s at pencil marks. So ignore these. It's just
Okay,
all pencils.
got it.
Whoops.
Oh, yeah. This thing.
I know.
Okay.
All right.
Try to
Yeah.
plop it down when you can.
All right, you ready? For the record, good morning. My name is Jim Rivers, and I represent Pam West. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Sandy Jones.
You are currently employed as a nurse in this hospital where we are today. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever had your deposition taken before?
No, sir.
My questioning today will be related to injuries that my client sustained here in the hospital at the time of her admission back in October of 2000. You were present in the hospital on that evening. Is that correct?
Yes, this was not a regular shift for me. I was working overtime.
First, let me give you some general instructions to follow in order to make this go a little smoother.
All right.
When I ask you a question, please just listen and allow me to complete it before you start to answer. Hopefully, I will remember to afford you the same courtesy before I continue on to the next question.
All right.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, sir. It sounds fair.
If you don't understand something that I say, tell me and I will rephrase it. Hopefully, we will have you back working in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Do you recall my client at all or the events regarding her stay here at the hospital?
I remember Pam, yes.
Have you had a chance before you came here today to review the hospital record?
Yes.
Have you ever looked at any portion of Dr. Stone's deposition?
Yes.
Do you understand that Dr. Stone in his deposition made some allegations concerning some of the nurses here at the hospital?
Yes, I understand.
He is alleging that at the time he called a code blue, one of the nurses, Jane Hall, simply walked away from him and refused to help him. After that, Dr. Stone came to you and you indicated you were too busy to help.
I recall reading that testimony.
And that's the reason why you're here, because your name came up in terms of our previous depositions.
I had a feeling when I was reading his testimony that you would call me.
Can you tell me your understanding of a code blue? What is a code blue?
When a doctor or really anyone calls a code blue, everyone drops what they are doing as long as it does not endanger someone else. We will all immediately jump in to help. This is considered a matter of life and death.
Do you remember Jane Hall calling to your attention any concerns that she had relative to Pam West and the information contained in her lab tests?
I don't remember. I don't recall anything particular at that time.
Can you tell me what you recall of the events regarding my client's care?
Well, I was here in the hospital. I was in my office at that time, and I was working.
By the way, what's your position at the hospital?
I'm a nurse manager. I think I was in my office doing my administrative stuff, and the staff was working.
Explain what that means.
I mean that all the patients were being attended to, and the nurses were doing typical nursing care.
If a nurse, such as Jane Hall, has concerns about a patient and doesn't like the steps that are being taken by the doctor, is there any hospital policy or procedure where she would bring that to your attention?
Yes, we have a hospital policy whereby the floor nurse would go to the charge nurse.
Is there anything after that?
If at that time the charge nurse was unable to handle it, she would go to the manager. That procedure would continue up the line.
Jane Hall indicates she spoke with you that night concerning this patient and the information in her lab test. Do you remember that at all?
No, I don't remember.
What would your procedure have been if you agreed with her interpretation of what was indicated in the lab tests?
If I agreed with her, then I would initially go to the doctor and explain those concerns. This is what we're seeing. This is what we think.
So the procedure basically is to make sure that the nurse or the nursing personnel has brought their concerns to the attention of the physician.
That's correct.
And the nurse would try to get the physician more involved in the decision-making process.
We bring it to the attention of the doctor, correct.
Then what happens?
Sometimes the physician will say, well, this is what I believe is going on, and I am comfortable with this. Or he might say, I am not comfortable with this, and that's how I want to carry on for now.
In terms of anything such as that happening, do you have any independent memory sitting here today of having a discussion with Jane about the status of my client's lab tests?
No, I don't. I have tried to recall, but nothing comes to mind.
Would there have been any reason for you to have become involved in the management of this particular patient?
No, as I stated, I was in my office doing administrative work.
Jane Hall says she brought this problem to your attention and that you were aware of it. She remembers that you two discussed it briefly and that you reviewed her notes and the lab tests.
I know she has stated that. I can't recall exactly what happened that evening.
Well, in terms of looking at notes, is it part of your duty to make sure that a nurse is accurately recording the status of a patient? The important information was noted, and the fact that she is bringing it to the attention of the attending physician.
If a nurse approaches me with concerns and requests that I look at something because she believes there is a problem, I will review the record with her. I will go over the nurse's notes. I will go over the case.
Do you do anything besides that?
If they come and ask me questions, I will answer them, absolutely.
Absent that being the normal procedure, you have no memory of that discussion?
Not on that night, I don't. We have had discussions, but those occurred much later, long after the incident happened.
So you have had discussions with her concerning the incident and the events that transpired that evening?
Yes, I have talked with Jane on more than one occasion.
Can you tell me what you discussed, please?
We reviewed the chart and we went over the notes and the lab tests. Unfortunately, I don't recall exactly what we discussed.
Did you discuss anything other than that?
That is our normal procedure whenever an incident like this occurs.
In terms of the procedures you had in place, would you have reviewed the chart and the nurse's notes to make sure that Jane Hall was accurately picking up the information contained within the lab tests?
I will go over both. I look at them, I review them, because that's part of my role. That's what my routine is.
Is it any part of your duty to bring to the attention of the medical staff any concerns that you may have if you disagreed with Dr. Stone's decisions?
If I had a real concern that a patient was not properly taken care of, I would take it up another step.
Was there any complaint made relative to Dr. Stone's management of this patient?
There were no complaints made by anyone in the hospital.
There were no meetings that you know of among the medical staff to review the case?
None of which I am aware.
Okay, that was at 200. Let's do this one. Okay. We are going to do this in sevens. I can just 7, yeah.
Just sevens.
Mhm. Just 7. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start out. Let's start on 2 and 15s like we were doing in pencil marks. And then we'll stop and we'll go up to 7s and speed it up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you ready? So 2 and 15s.
Okay, thanks.
For the record, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Thomas Baker. My residence is 127 Country Club Boulevard.
Do people usually address you as Tom?
Yes, frequently they do.
If I call you Tom, would that be okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Tom, would you begin by giving the jury a little bit of information about yourself? In other words, are you married?
Yes, ma'am. We just celebrated our 37th anniversary.
Do you have any children?
We have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Are your kids grown up and on their own?
Yes, they are all independent.
Your wife is here with us in the courtroom today, is that correct?
Yes, she is.
She will testify later in this trial, is that correct?
That's correct.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in a little community in the western corner of the state. My family had a farm, so I literally grew up in the farming business. After I graduated from high school, I started my own construction company.
When did you move to this area?
We moved here after we were married so we could be closer to my wife's mom and dad.
Please tell us a little bit about your interest in jogging or running. When did you start running?
I have always been physical. I participated in sports when I was in high school. Then as I got older, I just kept jogging to stay in shape. I also enjoy the peace and quiet when I am running early in the morning. I plan my activities and think about business decisions while I run.
About how many miles do you run?
I usually run about 5 or 6 miles every weekday and approximately 20 miles on Saturdays.
When you leave your residence every morning, do you usually run on the sidewalk or in the street?
What I normally do is run in the street, but I run on the left-hand portion of the roadway so that I'm facing traffic.
Let me show you a photograph. Does this photograph illustrate the area outside of your residence?
Yes, that's correct.
So you would jog over on this portion of the street?
That's correct.
Please explain to us why you would rather not run on the sidewalk.
People are usually out at that time in the morning exercising their dogs. Occasionally, 2 or 3 people enjoy walking together in a group. Sometimes there is not a lot of room to get around them.
What is your practice if a vehicle approaches you while you are running?
If 2 cars are meeting, or if there is a car in my area, I will step up on the grass, but usually there is sufficient space for me to stay near the curb on the street.
Is it normally light or dark out when you're running?
Normally it is dark because I run early in the morning. However, the street lights are on. It is very well illuminated.
Let's talk about the day of the accident. How did your day begin?
It was just another normal day of getting up and getting ready to go running.
What were the weather conditions that morning?
It was just like a typical warm September day.
Was it foggy outside?
No, it was not foggy.
The jury has already heard that an accident happened that morning. Can you tell us what time the accident happened?
It was about 5 o'clock.
Explain to us what happened.
I was going along running, and then I became aware of a vehicle coming up behind me. I assumed it was on the right side of the road, so I was not thinking about being hit. I was concentrating on what I was doing.
Was there anything about the sound of the car that alerted you that something out of the ordinary was going to happen?
No, ma'am.
Was there any honking or sound of brakes?
No.
What type of clothing were you wearing?
I had on a white t-shirt and a pair of dark running shorts and my running shoes.
Were you wearing any reflective clothing?
No, I was not.
Describe what happened immediately after the motor vehicle came in contact with your body.
Well, it was almost like I was in a dream. The vehicle struck the back of my legs, and I was pulled down under the automobile. The next thing I remember is that I was lying between the front and rear tires with the vehicle on top of me. It just happened so quickly.
Could you determine if you sustained injuries at that time?
I was experiencing some bleeding, but I didn't know how serious it was at that time.
Okay. Continuing on.
What did...
For the record, what is your best recollection?
I just remember the woman driver getting out of her automobile and looking at me. She appeared very upset.
Did she say anything to you?
I don't believe so.
What were you feeling at that point?
I didn't know if I was going to live or die. I hollered at the driver to go get my wife. Our house was in the immediate vicinity.
Did she immediately run to get your wife at that time?
I believe so. Some neighbors started gathering around the scene of the accident, so there was quite a bit of commotion. They made me stay down until the ambulance got there.
How long did it take until the ambulance arrived at the scene of the accident?
It must have been approximately 5 or 10 minutes.
Did your wife appear during that time?
Yes, she did. She was still wearing her robe at that time.
Do you remember anything else before the ambulance took you away?
Just that they put me in a neck brace and transferred me over onto a flat board. I also remember the police being present, but I don't remember them asking me any questions at that time.
So you then left for the hospital?
That's correct.
I forgot to ask you earlier, what part of the vehicle came in contact with your body?
I believe it was the front left bumper.
Approximately what portion of your body was contacted?
The back of my legs.
Had you ever experienced a blow like that in your life?
Probably in football when I was a kid, but it wasn't that intense.
Where did your body go after you were struck?
Underneath the vehicle.
Do you have an image of that in your mind?
I certainly do.
Is there any question that you went underneath that vehicle after being struck by the left front bumper?
No, I am positive that was the area of the car that struck me.
Okay, so the first section of that, the longer section was 200 and that last section was 210. Okay, let's do this in 16ths. And then we're going to do takes because we have 6 takes today. All right, 16ths. Okay, are we ready? Yeah, still practice. Yeah. I'm gonna do one more.
16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the first one. Wow. Okay. For the record, state your full name for the record, please.
Stanley W. Johnson.
Where do you reside, Mr. Johnson?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Are you married, sir?
Yes, I am.
What is your wife's name?
Her name is Marilyn Johnson.
What was her maiden name?
Her maiden name was Robinson.
How long have you been married?
Last September 22nd was our first year anniversary.
Have you ever been married before?
No, this is my only marriage.
Do you have any children?
No, not yet.
How long have you resided in Nashville, Tennessee?
I lived in Nashville my entire life. However, I've only been at my present address for about the last year.
Where did you live before that, Stanley?
I had previously lived with my parents.
Prior to getting married and finding an apartment to live in with your wife, had you always lived with your mother and father?
Yes, because I was still attending school.
At the time of this accident we're talking about today, were you living in the apartment with your wife or were you still living with your parents?
At that time, we had just been married for approximately 2 months.
Did the two of you move in with your parents for a while after the accident?
Yes, we did temporarily.
Why did you move in with them?
Because I wasn't making any money. I wasn't able to work.
Was your wife working at the time this incident occurred?
Yes, she worked at a convenience store over by the interstate.
Was that permanent or a part-time position?
She was a cashier for them, but not on a regular basis.
At the time of this accident, were you going to college?
No, I was out working.
Had you graduated from high school the previous summer?
Yes, I graduated from high school in June of that year.
What kind of employment did you have at the time the accident occurred?
I was working on a construction site. I was just a day laborer on a construction site.
Once you received treatment, did you go back to your construction job after this accident?
No, ma'am, I could not return to work because I couldn't do any heavy lifting.
Were you able to find other employment after the accident?
Not really. Well, I did work some for my father in Nashville.
What does your father do?
He's a beer distributor.
Were you driving trucks for him?
No, I couldn't do that kind of work. I mainly just worked in the office doing some paperwork for him.
Have you ever been convicted of any criminal offense?
No, I have not.
Have you ever been arrested?
No, I have not.
Have you ever received a traffic ticket other than the one you received in this case?
Yes, I've had a few speeding tickets.
Have you ever had any other accidents?
No, ma'am. This is the only accident I've ever been involved in.
Do you remember what day of the week this accident happened?
No, I sure don't.
Do you remember whether it was on a weekday or a weekend?
It was in the afternoon, and I remember running errands for my wife, so it was definitely on a weekend.
Did you have anything to drink that afternoon?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Had you had anything to drink in the previous 24 hours?
Yes, ma'am. I probably had a couple of beers the previous evening.
Could it possibly have been more than just a couple of beers the previous night?
No, it couldn't.
What were the weather conditions that day? Was it raining or anything like that?
No, ma'am. The sun was shining. It was a beautiful day.
Do you remember what the speed limit is in the area you were traveling that afternoon?
I believe it's about 45.
What was the condition of the road surface that you were traveling on that afternoon?
It was a really smooth surface, which I believe was newly paved with a slight incline that I was driving up before I started making my turn.
How far from where you were beginning to make your turn did the hill crest?
The next intersection up has a restaurant, and there's a traffic signal up there. I would estimate that's approximately 150 yards from where I was turning.
So if you had continued going straight through the intersection where you were and proceeded through the traffic signal by the restaurant, you would have crested the hill and started going back down the other side of it?
Yes, because the terrain in this entire area is sort of rolling hills.
Describe for me in detail what you remember happening at the time of the accident.
There really isn't much to remember. I pulled over into the left-hand lane. I had my blinker on. I looked up the hill to the intersection by the restaurant, and there was no traffic approaching. The next thing I remember, one of the paramedics was waking me up.
When you looked up the hill toward the restaurant, do you remember whether or not the traffic signal was green for traffic approaching you?
Yes, the signal was green, but there wasn't any traffic coming down the hill.
Did you come to a complete stop before making your left turn?
I don't remember if I was completely stopped or not, actually.
Do you remember if you had to wait for any vehicles to clear the intersection before you began making your turn?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I believe that I slowed down to let a couple of vehicles go by, but I can't remember whether or not I came to a complete stop.
Did you see the other driver's automobile at all prior to the accident occurring?
No, I didn't ever see anything coming down that hill.
Do you know where the other vehicle came from?
No, I really don't.
Do you believe that he was speeding at the time he hit your vehicle?
If he was coming down that hill, he had to have been speeding.
Was there very much traffic that afternoon?
It really wasn't too heavy. It was pretty light that afternoon.
Was the sun at an angle that would have impaired your ability to see any oncoming traffic?
No, the sun was not a factor at all that day.
Was there a traffic signal at the intersection where you were turning left?
No, ma'am. The only traffic signal in that area was at the next intersection.
Were you wearing your seatbelt at the time of this collision?
No, I wasn't.
Was your car in good working order on the day of the accident?
Yes, it was in good working order.
Okay.